It's weird because I feel like some of my opinions have swayed slightly. Christine and Kieran, that was actually really cool to see them be quite vulnerable, because I think up until this point, it has just been a case of being like, oh, well, these two are just sick, they're cool, they're fine. If you hear someone say, I think you look really great, that was not even mean. And when the question came up about the lie detector test, obviously I think she was joking about that. I don't think she was actually like, Jerry, Jerry. So what is it that's so big and bad that you can't just be in an apartment with that person? Like, I just think it's a bit of a cop out, really. I'm not doing nothing extra that you ain't doing. So you see all this finger something on his back, and she's like, just don't. What's all that about? I have pretty much stayed on Charlie's neck this whole time, being like, I'm more in the camp of I can see why Eve has kind of taken herself away and whatever. But this episode, I feel like my opinion is completely 180. But you have chosen to come back, and not just to come back, to stay. So if you're staying, why are you not doing the things that you need to do? Like, what is the point? Well gone, people, thems. So I've just finished watching the latest episode of MAFS. It's weird because I feel like some of my opinions have swayed slightly, but then just seeing the end of this episode, I'm like, I don't know. So I'm a little bit flummoxed as to what to think. Really, it ended last week with it looking at the experts envelope and what they were gonna task them to do. I didn't realize that they were all gonna have like tailored tasks, which I think is actually really cool and actually makes sense, rather than just being like, everybody have intimacy week, everybody write a letter. Like, so instead they had individual things that was obviously important to that particular couple. Who was the first one? So it started off with Christine and Kieran, and that was actually really cool to see them be quite vulnerable, because I think up until this point, it had just been a case of being like, oh, well, these two are just sick, they're cool, they're fine. And I guess when you're the funny person like Kieran is, you can kind of forget that, like, he's also got layers. So when he was telling that story about not being able to like go into his house and stuff because he had to wait until his partner would calm down, and because he was too much for her, like and him getting upset about that, that was really sad to see. Like, really, really sad to see, because no one should feel like that. No one should feel as though that, like, you just being you is too much for the person that is meant to be in love with you. So I felt bad for him for that. And I also felt bad for her too, because I feel like she really bears that weight of this condition. Which, look, as a dude and as someone that's never ever heard of this condition, like, I've got absolutely no recourse or experience with how that must feel. And I know there's probably people that would be maybe skeptical of that, but I think it's really clear to see that, like, that's not something that she would choose. It's obviously not, and it's obviously had an impact on her other relationships and stuff. So I really feel for her that she's got this condition that clearly affects her mood, and nobody wants to see somebody cry, and then naturally you're gonna feel like helpless to be able to help him and stuff. But like, to me, he's the kind of guy that you would just like. He just says like the right things. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you wanted someone to kind of walk you through that process, or at least hold your hand through it or whatever, like, he's the kind of guy that you'd want to do that, because not only has he got the heart to want to, by being like, look, you do you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I get it. I'm here for you. Don't overthink about what I'm thinking about it. Those are the kind of things that you want to hear from someone that you are into and hopefully trying to grow a life with. So I thought, you know what, rate you, Kieran, man. Like, week on week, like, he's really becoming one of my favorite people on the entire show. Like, I like her too, but I just think I don't know, man. I just feel like, particularly because of the whole height thing and him feeling maybe that, like, a woman wouldn't want him, or maybe might even, go look road for find somebody else. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's a good lad. He's a good lad. He's a good lad. So yeah, I think their whole task I thought was really good for them, and it looked like it put them in a good space. Nathan and Lacey, let's go Nathan and Lacey. I think with him and her, yeah, I think it's always going to be really difficult to kind of critique them, because if you hear someone say, I think you look really great, or your personality, yeah, your personality is great, That was that even mean? Do you know what I mean what is it about me physically that you like, or what is it about my personality that you like? Like what? But you can't then put that same critique with Nathan because of the fact that he's got ADHD. So you don't know. He's already kind of demonstrated from the last commitment ceremony that he doesn't necessarily articulate himself in the way that someone that didn't have that would do. So I can see that Lacey was like, I've had people that have, rated my bottom or whatever before, but like I want something deeper than that, and it's likely that he does think something deeper than that, but maybe just can't articulate it when he's put on the spot in that kind of way. So I don't know if there's another way in which that they might be able to, I don't know, to kind of extract that from him. But it looked as though that he was very, by the end of it, they were hugging and stuff, and it looked as though that he meant what he said. And when she asked him, like, can you see a future with us and stuff, and he was like, yeah, I can. Everything's going really well so far. So, I mean, it looked good. Like, it looked good. It is the kind of vibe I got from that. So I was like, okay, cool. And then, yeah, Rochelle and Orson, or Orson and Rochelle. So obviously, she's come back. And I rated the fact that she rated the grilling that she got. I rated that because, again, it shows accountability. And I think that's the thing that some people just are not taking on this show at all. But I think like she said there, by coming back, I fully accepted that I've like surrendered myself to the experiment. Sick. That's what Orson needs to hear. And when the question came up about the lie detector test, obviously I think she was joking about that. I don't think she was actually like, Jerry. I don't think it was that. But I do understand what she's saying in that for me to trust you, like I might like you, and I'm back here and I'm willing to kind of put my all into it and see where it can go. But to say I trust you, I don't know. I think to me it would be foolhardy, particularly after watching seasons of the show before and just knowing how waste man people can be in just life in general, in the whole dating pool. I think it'd be really stupid just to trust someone after a week and a bit. Like, no, I don't trust no one. Like, I will grow to get there, and the things that you will do, that I will see, that I can, because it's a bit different to kind of Love Is Blind, where you've built up some time before you've then met them and then gone into something. Like, you've not had these long, deep conversations without seeing this person. Like, you literally met them on the day. And for them as well, she flew home. So she's not even had that much time with him. So I think he's right to say that, look, if we get to the end of this and, you don't trust your husband, well, that is a point. But yeah, I kind of get that. I think I'd be very much the same. Like, I'm willing to be open to you, but to trust you, that's a bar. That's a bar that I'm not willing to give you on that regard. Then I think it went to Emma and Casper. I mean, this is what I mean about it kind of changed my opinion, because I'll be honest, from the last commitment ceremony, I was like, this dude is an absolute douche. Like, I do not rate him at all. And then as it started, I still wasn't really rating him because he, I don't know. I mean, you can't live with someone that you fundamentally feel uncomfortable with. Do you know what I mean? I get that. But how do you attempt to grow something if you're not prepared to be in the proximity with them? Like, a lot of that kind of like growth with people is it's almost like the non-verbal things when you're in and around their person. Do you know what I mean? Like breakfast times, lunch times, evening times, and you can't have a lot of that if you're having a lot of space on your own, because you're not in it with me. And you got to think as well that these people aren't like, they're not being shipped to some crazy prison on the outskirts of the Baltic. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're with someone who also wants to be married to you, like, and they're in it just like you. They've left their friends, they've left their family, just like you have. So what is it that's so big and bad that you can't just be in an apartment with that person? Like, I just think it's a bit of a cop out, really. And considering that you've decided to stay, I'm like, well, what are you staying for? So you can go and stop in another room and like pop in for an hour a day. Like, that's not committing. I feel like he still had the same kind of anger that he had at the commitment ceremony. Like, it went as bad as it was gonna go. I felt as bad. Me. Like, so when Mel came in, and I rated the fact that she was like, so you know, why do you think you honed in on her size, you know, and really asked him some hard hitting questions and stuff, which I think is really pertinent, and especially about the double standards, you know, what do you see when you look in your mirror, and he pulled out all the different things that he doesn't like about himself, and then he's like, you know, well, do you think there's a bit of a double standard that you then attacked her for, you know, because it's like, how do you not see that you've got your own body issues, and yet you want to throw something that's out of her control, and probably something that she may have felt uncomfortable about, in her face? Like, surely you would be one of the most people to kind of look past that, which is why the reason that you've come on the show. Or actually, you've got your own insecurities, but actually you're just as shallow as everybody else. Yeah, I didn't rate that. And then what I didn't like was when he's like, like, we've done all this. We've spoken about this already. Like, you know, if this continues, then I'm done. I'm like, bro, like, you have got no idea how your words affect other people. And this is what I mean about, like, this show in general. Because as much as I'm commenting about his actions or people on the show right now, there's lots of people out there that are exactly like that. Like, just in general. And it's madness to me. Because I'm like, well, you've got no care or lack of awareness anyway. You've got a lack of awareness of how your words or actions or lack thereof will impact another person. And then when you're called out on it, which some people won't be because they'll ghost and just not care, when you actually get the opportunity to tell that person, like, yeah, how you've made me feel about something, like, he's gonna turn around and be like, "What if you continue telling me how you feel, or continue trying to make me feel accountable for what it is that I've said and the things that I've done? I'm done." It's just like, you are such. I just cannot stand them kind of people. By that point, I literally was like, nothing ain't changed for me and Casper. Like, I do not rate the guy at all. And bless Emma though for realizing that, yeah, it is a lot about him. It's a lot about him in this negative hole that he's in. However, I do think that when he started listing some of her attributes and things that he does like, and then understanding that actually some of her fragility comes from her overcompensating for when she. I mean, I don't know if you guys do the same thing, but I know I do. If I'm ever in a situation that I'm uncomfortable or that I don't really know anybody or whatever, I will overtalk, and I will, like, you know, because it's almost like a defense mechanism to just be like, well, I'm not gonna sit here in awkwardness or sitting here in silence, because that's I'd rather jump off a building. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather not do that. So I can understand how she can overcompensate, but then I can also appreciate how that could rub someone up the wrong way if you do that too much. Like, if you're this big old clown and you know, just in people's faces and ears and stuff with all that stuff, I can understand why that could be off-putting too. But maybe that light bulb moment is actually she's just as nervous as I am, but she just exhibits that in a different way. So I was like, okay, there is a slight bit of light there, I guess, but I still don't think, because he's so entrenched on this image of what he's attracted to. I just don't see it going anywhere. I really don't. Like, at all. And another one that I don't see going absolutely nowhere, yeah, is Adam and Polly. Like, God bless Charlene, yeah. God bless Charlene, because they made them do the melting hug, didn't they? So both Adam and Polly and Sasha and Ross, who again are just so unproblematic, man. They're just cool. They got a good vibe anyway. Like, give me a hug and melting into you, that was never going to be a problem. But like, in one way, I know I've kind of been a little bit harsh on Polly, because I've been like, I just need you to just fix up a little piece here and stop letting this man take you for chips. But I also appreciate that when you're in it, what else are you gonna do? Like, she's in the competition, so I keep calling it a competition. She's in the experiment, so you're going to attempt to try and make it work. Otherwise, you are just gonna leave. Maybe she should have left, but whatever. So you're doing this task, and she's hugging him, and because she like, she's I was about to say thirsty. She's not thirsty, but she's keen to get that kind of physical, reassurance, do you know what I mean? Which I guess we all want, like, as humans. And I know he does too. So I know he's all like, yeah, take my time. And she's like, yeah, he's not maybe like other guys and stuff and whatever. But he is. Because if you were this petite brunette baddie that he's been after, like, he'd be cuddled up to you like white on rice. Do you know what I mean? He really would. He really would. So I keep trying to put myself in their shoes as to how I think I would respond. But, Charlene saying to do this task and hug them up. Okay, fine. But I'm not doing nothing extra that you ain't doing. So you see all this finger something on his back, and she's like, just don't. What's all that about? Like, let him do that. If he's doing that to you, then fair enough, you can reciprocate. But you've already done enough. Like, ugh. So the hug was dead because he was like, it just felt weird. And then it was the hand massage, and I couldn't help but feel like when he was like, oh, if it was like a back massage, that probably would have been more my thing. And I'm like, is that because you wouldn't have to like look at her? Like, because what that could be a very sensual thing. Do you know what I mean? If you're looking at the person and stuff. But he's like, I just felt it was a bit weird and whatever. And I'm just like, you're not feeling it. And I know that he was like, I feel like I've been grilled. I feel like I'm about to get grilled. And I did like the fact that she was like, well, the problem really is you and not me. But even when they were talking about it, and he's like, I didn't want to do it again because I didn't know where my head was at. In the one hand, I can respect it, but on the other hand, I'm like, but you wouldn't. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think you should have even slept with her. Like, I think at that you've set this bar that's let her feel like, okay, cool, we've got this connection, and then nothing else has come. Like, at least by this point, like, it'd be a lot more like Emma and Casper, who have shared nothing, and are just working on a relationship. But because you've I feel like has been selfish in that instant to kind of like get some kind of instant gratification, probably because the liquor was flowing or whatever. You've now woken up in the horrors being like, oh, no. But you've already allowed this person to be what I consider the most intimate you can be with someone, like literally in bed together. So yeah, I still don't rate him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just want Polly to just chill and let him come to you. Like, still be yourself, do you know what I mean, and whatever, but just because I know that part of the relationship is important, of course it is, but if somebody don't want to give it to you, I'm sorry, like, that art of rejection is so powerful, fam. Like, it would probably turn me off wanting to do anything with you either, because I'm just like, I can't be. You're not gonna make me feel like I'm some kind of like leper, and that's how I feel at the moment. Like, because all it takes is little things, and if he's not doing that, like the little hand touches and just little things to kind of build it up. He's not doing that. He's not feeling it. So anyway, so after them two, then it was Eve and Charlie. Now look, I have pretty much stayed on Charlie's neck this whole time, being like, I completely, not completely, but I'm more in the camp of I can see why Eve has kind of taken herself away and whatever. But this episode, I feel like my opinion is completely 180. And obviously, my last reaction, I'd said that I'd had a browse of Twitter, and I'd had no idea that people had seen a different perspective when it comes to Eve and Charlie. That people aren't like Eve's the one that's da. And I still didn't really agree with it, because I'm like, well, my opinion isn't that. Like, from what I've seen, I can understand why somebody would want to remove themselves from that situation. A bit like Alex was saying, which I'll come to in a minute, but if you're gonna like call me out my name or bring me to the point where it's calling me out my character, like, and we're hollering and we're screaming and like all of that, like, fam, you can't be the one for me, because that ain't what I'm looking for. I'm not at all. I want cool, laid back, good vibes, good energy, like arguments over things like who's gonna have the last magnum in the fridge, like nothing serious. Like, you're a liar. We got a problem. Because I promise you, I got nothing to lie to you about. Do you know what I mean? I don't know you. However, they both agreed to stay, and well, there were two things I noticed actually upon reflection from last week. When Charlie was trying to comfort Eve, she pushed her away twice. And I thought that was quite interesting because I'm like, well, you've spoken about this connection that you've had and how awful it was when you were on honeymoon, but that's someone that's trying to, you're upset and stuff, like, and it's just this. She's not trying to, like, hump you with her leg. Like, and she pushed her off twice. Now, that to me, yeah, if I was Charlie, I would have felt rejected, publicly rejected in front of other people at a time of healing. Don't know why I did that, but at a time of healing. So I was like, that's interesting. And even when she said that she was gonna stay, she looked at the group. She didn't look at Charlie. She wasn't like, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay, guys. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay. She looked at everybody else, and I don't know whether that was just a nervous thing, maybe. But I thought, well, that's interesting. Because the main person that probably would want to know that you're staying is the person sat next to you. And again, it's editing, so I don't know how that, I don't know how much that was just how it went or that's just what we saw. But either way, I was like, that's interesting. So you've now decided to stay, and you'd said, look, after we've seen the experts are moving, then decided that you weren't going to move in. So to me, now, I'm seeing inconsistencies in what she says she's going to do and what she actually does. And if someone does that, it means A, you're making a limbo situation that the other person doesn't know how things are going to move forward because you're saying one thing and doing another. But it also means I can't trust you. I can't trust that you are genuine or that you're in this because you're not doing what you said you're going to do. The experiment is set up that you're meant to live with each other, yeah? And if you've had this great commitment ceremony where you've now decided to stay and that you've squashed whatever beef that you had, then surely you should have moved in. I don't see any... like, at first I was like, okay, I can kind of maybe understand if she still needed a bit of space. But she's always had space between the honeymoon up until the dinner party to the commitment ceremony to the... After that, you've had that space. So what more space do you like? It doesn't tell me that you want to be in this to work on this if you're not going to move in here to work with me. And if she'd said, look, the honeymoon was so scarring to me, yeah, that I don't feel comfortable living in the same space with you right now. Do you know what I mean? I just don't. And I'm glad we've seen the experts, but I just don't. She said she shot her a text. So she didn't even like, she didn't even come and explain to her. She just sent her a little text message being like, yeah, I'm not going to move in. Nah, I'm not feeling that. But still, Charlie didn't like blow up because I thought maybe that might make her blow up and stuff, but she didn't. She was like, look, okay, cool. And I thought it was really good how she asked her, being like, look, I just need to know that at some point you are planning to move in here and that we are going to move forward. And she's like, yeah, that is the plan. Cool. Okay, I can work with that. Okay, fine. So that to me again is her giving. That's her giving. That's her giving, and I really respected that. There was nothing snarky about it, and she could have been, even though that would have disappointed me, and she probably was disappointed. She was like, cool. Then this task comes up. I was just in disbelief. So they've given you a task here to open up about something that the other person doesn't know. Like, this could be something as small as I had a rabbit called Anita when I was little. Yeah, a little white albino rabbit. I named her after the Queen's Nose show that came on BBC One. Anyway, you see how easy that was for me to kind of just share that with people that I don't even know. So imagine that you are getting married to someone, yeah, and you can't find some kind of benign, inane, like, throwaway thing, which I guess maybe defeats the point of the object. But even that would have been better than you getting up, leaving, because again, I don't know if it's edited that way, but it looked as though when Charlie went to go and write that she just got up and left. But I don't know if that was just for dramatic effect or whatever. But either way, you've gone away, you've come back with not a stitch in your hand, and she has poured into this letter front and back what happened with her dad and how that impacted her. And imagine that you pour out all of that and you met with this. I'm like, fam, that is an absolute cop-out and you are a waste, man. I'm sorry. Like, any kind of like support that I had for how you were feeling, I lost it at that point. Absolutely lost it, because you're trying to say that, like, I don't trust you enough to kind of share that with you. You clearly trust me enough, and that's great, but I don't trust you enough. So rather than you say, look, I don't feel comfortable doing this particular task, which is such a minor task, like, no one's asking you to kind of dig out your deepest, darkest secrets. Like, you don't have to do that. Like, but to just to show some kind of contrition and some kind of intent that you are in this with her, bro, like, lame, you are lame. That was so lame. And when she was like, because I understand when Charlie was like, when she was kind of laughing, I don't think she was laughing at her. Like, I didn't get that. I think she was just kind of like in almost disbelief. And for her to be like, don't laugh at the way that I'm feeling, like, and it's like, but she isn't doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not demonstrating that you're in it. You're not demonstrating, and I think now I'm kind of starting to see that, yeah, yeah, I don't think it's as clear cut as what I thought before. I really don't think it's as clear cut. It's interesting. I mean, obviously, then when Charlie was like, "Get out," I feel like that was her just being like, "I've just had enough. I've had enough of this." Like, yeah, our communication styles ain't great. And listen, like, I get it. If someone had spoken to me the way that Charlie spoke to me on holiday, I probably wouldn't even have come back. So that's why I'm saying that, like, I understood why Eve was like, nah. But you have chosen to come back, and not just to come back, to stay. So if you're staying, why are you not doing the things that you need to do? Like, you have to put that to one side. Because if you just keep harboring over the same beef, you're never going to move forward. So what is the point? What is the point? And if you don't think you can move past it, then you just got to leave and just put the girl out of her misery and go about your business. But you being like, I better stay, guys. I better stay, guys, and then being like, I'm not living with you. I ain't doing the task either. Get out, get out. So I do understand why Charlie was like that. The only interesting thing for me about that, though, is that the week after, they're calling Charlie out for being a bully. And yeah, that's interesting, that is, because then it's like, well, what is it that they're seeing then that maybe we haven't seen yet? Um, I don't know. It's a difficult one, man. It is a difficult one, but I don't think at this point I'd have had the patience with any of this. I'm sorry. Like, I don't mind there being, we see a bit different eye to eye on this, or they snore a bit louder than I do, or they're maybe a little bit louder than I can be, or whatever the superficial things might be. But these kind of big people, long 40 plus year marriage arguments, no, no, no. Not doing none of that. So the other kind of swing around for me this episode has been Alex, because I think I was probably focused on his stare as well. If I'm honest, I was like, that stare, yeah, is like a war stare. Like, I'm ready to go to war and I'm gonna brock you up and da. Like, it's such. I get what she meant about it being quite intimidating, and actually, like, I've seen, like, and again, he's not putting it on him. I don't know him like that, but there's just that kind of energy and that kind of demeanor. I've seen guys be like that with girls, and it's like, that is just, it's awful. I hate it. I absolutely hate that. So it was, I found it difficult to kind of see his point, or even want to see his point. So I'm like, you're exhibiting features and attributes here which I don't rate in anybody, never mind in that kind of dynamic. But I did say, and I do still stand by the fact that if Holly had an issue, that she could have taken him to one side, to Orson's point, and she didn't do that. So I was like, she didn't come for your neck, or she didn't come for your sideways. But I suppose if you're like, yo, we're good, and now we've got an audience, you're now going on like, what I can Tina, like, that would also make me feel away, because it's almost like you're trying to drive a narrative. And really and truly, if we're really honest, yeah, him making that comment might have unsettled her slightly, but he didn't actually do anything. He didn't go out and cheat. He hasn't, like, said he doesn't like her. So while she had every right to say, look, what you said made me feel away, at the same time, the way that people were acting, it was like he cheated with somebody. Like, so I do think that was a bit OTT. Anyway, the fact that they were able, with Paul's help, to kind of set these boundaries and to articulate what those boundaries are, I think that was really, really good. I think he was, at first I was just like, he's talking like she's interrupting him like low. It didn't sound like it was a massive interruption, but if he couldn't get his thoughts out without her saying something, then that is going to be problematic. But I think what was really, really good is that he was able to explain why he felt betrayed. And I think anybody reasonable could understand that. You know, you portray one thing behind closed doors, you're doing another thing in front of people. I don't know where I stand with you. And the name calling, like I said, I don't like to be called nothing like that, because for me, it takes away. I'm not listening to a stitch of what you've said now. I've turned off completely. So I do understand where that's come from. And I like the fact that he was able to write that down, and that she was able to hear that. You know, I do have a potty mouth, and own it. You know, it's okay to have a potty mouth, but what are you going to do about it? Because what you're doing is affecting me, which in turn is affecting us. Yeah, when she said, like, you know, it's the stairs got to change because that triggers me, and, you know, she started crying, and he, you know, put his arms around her and stuff like that. All of that kind of like hardness that I'd seen, I was like, I don't like none of that, man. Like, oh, don't like any of that. Like, you could see that actually he's a good guy. Like, that was really nice to see. And I think for the first, because I was like, bro, just go home. Go home. But I think that is the first bit of light that I've seen with them two, probably since they were on holiday. So yeah, man, here's hoping that they can kind of continue to work on that, because I'd really put that as just DOA. Just put that in the bin. It's done. But I think they could actually have something to work on there now. So yeah, my opinion, I still feel as though that he's got the ability to kind of get to that point. But I think my opinion has changed somewhat in that actually I kind of ended the episode being like, all right, Alex. Okay, bro. Okay, bro. And I kind of was prepared actually to kind of not roast Holly a bit more, but I think to hold her more accountable for some of it too, because I feel like, you know, when you are someone who potentially just mask their insecurities by being quite loud, a little bit obnoxious in front of other people, I feel like, yeah, that can be an insecurity, but you've also got to own what impact that you have. You're having an impact here, but what you're saying and how you're saying it in front of other people, that's probably going to cause a reaction. Do you know what I mean? So, but again, she owned it. She owns that. And it seems like they're willing to work on it 50-50. And that big embrace I had at the end. I think Paul's the sickest one, you know. I think Paul's such a good... just the way he speaks about things. Like, I love Paul. Love Paul. So, yeah, opinions kind of changed on Alex. Opinions kind of changed on Eve, but the other way. Hasn't really changed on Casper. Hasn't really changed on Adam. And I liked the others anyway. So yeah, a good episode, a juicy episode, and I guess we'll see what happens at the next dinner party. But yeah, man, it is such an interesting program to see how it's just interesting, man. People's behaviors and what they do and how they do it and how other people take those behaviors. It's just really interesting, because me and my bestie, we've been going back and forth about Holly, because I've been like, nah, man, like I get, and he's like, no, no. But and it's just interesting taking and seeing other people's perspectives on how they've taken these participants. So yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, I'd love to know what you guys thought of this. If you did enjoy this, then please drop me a like and subscribe. That'd be amazing. Thank you very much, and I will see you on the next. Oh.